Day 21 of our mobility series, and today we have 2 stretches for you plus 1 movement. So we're going to start with the stretches, and one of these stretches, the first one we're going through, is one of the areas that we talked about that we need to do self-massage with, and it's that piriformis. It's one of those deep external rotator muscles underneath the muscles of your glutes. So one of the ways to stretch that is just sitting on a chair. You're going to take one leg and cross it over. And basically from there, what we're gonna do is you can lean forward on this. It's okay if we round a little bit in the back. And we're just gonna use this arm and push into that knee, and we can lean forward with it as we go. And that's gonna bring that stretch into that butt there, into the piriformis. And we're just gonna hold there. We can hang out there for 30 seconds, a minute, and you're just adding that pressure into that knee and getting that stretch into the piriformis. Okay? And the other thing that you can do as well is you can think about grabbing this bottom leg and then pulling yourself down, and that will also increase the stretch there as well. The next step on top of that, once you've done that, is you can then sit up. This is the one where we want the back straight. We can sit up nice and straight, and we can basically just hug this knee into our chest, and we're gonna get a stretch into that butt basically right away. But as long as, if we pull the knee up this way, if you see that my back is rounded here, I can't really get much of a stretch. But if I roll the hips forward, keep that back straight, and then pull that knee in, add a little bit of a twist, then I get a really, really big stretch in there. And that's gonna be your piriformis stretches. Our second stretch is gonna be addressing the hip flexor area. Because again, we're sitting down all the time, and this area gets shortened constantly in that seated position. So we really wanna start to open up that area. And one of the things, I got this from Kelly Starrett, he calls it the couch stretch. And essentially what you're gonna be doing is you're gonna have your back foot resting up against something. This can be a chair, a couch, your bed, bench, anything that you can kind of elevate that foot, even up against the wall. And you're obviously gonna want something padded underneath your knee so it doesn't bother your knee. And then we're going to step out into this position. And key things here is most of the time for this position, if all we do, because what happens is we start stretching that hip flexor, we end up creating a curve in our lower back here. If we just think about breathing out, setting that rib cage again, and we breathe full exhale, I can feel that stretch start to increase already. So just breathe out, fully exhale there, and then from there, if you need a little bit more stretch, all I want you to think about is squeezing this glute on the back leg and squeeze it. And what that's gonna do, that's gonna tilt your hips this way, and that's going to really increase that stretch on that hip flexor. And all we're gonna do in this position is just keep that rib cage down, keep the glute squeezed, and just hang out here. Hold it for a minute. Heck, if you got the time, 2-3 minutes to really start to open up that hip flexor. And this is something that we would do after a workout. We wouldn't want to do a stretch this long before a workout, because then our performance would suffer. But if you need a little bit more, you can always slowly shift back a little bit, keep the rib cage and the butt tight, and keep going through that stretch there. Our last one for today is going to be a Shim Box with basically a hip extension and raising from that position. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into our Shim Box position, which is, again, a very common martial arts position, keeping the hips and the knees all at 90 degrees. And from here, first step is we address this in the beginning of our mobility series, is we can just get used to this position and then rocking the knees back and forth, and you're gonna feel the internal and external rotators in your hips and what sides you might be a little bit more tight on. But the addition to add on to this, now that we've gone through a bunch of mobility, is a progression to make this a little bit more harder, and to also, again, develop strength within this range. So being in this position is to now have the arms up and then push up, squeeze the glutes up at the very top, coming back down under control the entire way, never flopping down, and then switch over, press that rib cage down, breathe out, create that tension, and then coming up, get that full extension so we don't have the low back curve, but tuck the bum under, get that full squeeze, come back under control the whole way, and then going back and forth that way, getting a good 10 to 20 reps in, probably a good 10 reps per side, under control the entire way, back and forth. That's gonna be really, really good for, again, opening up the hips, creating that mobility, but creating that strength through the full range, which is exactly what mobility is.